Okay, let's see if this works. Hey, there we go. Okay, so you guys can hear me. Okay, so I'm gonna wait a second before I go. Okay, so this is just a quick casual live stream. Nothing fancy. I'm holding the phone in my hand, so if it's shaky, that's why. But I just want to do a couple quick points on what I thought of the Eclipse Cage Gen 2 after just doing a little bit of testing today. So let me just preface this by saying I didn't do any sort of chronograph testing. I didn't have a wide range of darts. I only used AccuFakes, brand new out of the package, which isn't technically optimized for the cage. But if you want to see all of that testing, it has already been done. You should go to rmod74's YouTube channel and check that out. That'll give you the best numbers, very tangible data that you are probably looking for. But if you want like thoughts on the application and how useful it is in certain game types and whatnot, this is more so the live stream for you. So let me just say, for the setup I was using the Eclipse Cage with Fangs Revamped, which are basically the only motors that really should be used for the cage. There are the Chronos X2s, but realistically you should be using Fangs Revamped. And then I tested it on 2S as well as 3S with brand new AccuFake darts. And like I said, those were the only darts I used. They aren't actually the recommended darts, but they are the darts that I did use. So for my results, I was noticing pretty consistent performance to what the chronograph testing that Ryan did in his review, which was that there's very much negligible difference between 2S and 3S. And I argue that 2S even perform better. Now, if you look on paper and you see those numbers and you see slightly higher FPS, sure, that's great. However, it doesn't really translate over if you can't hit anything. The darts that were coming out so fast on 3S that they had issues with their trajectory. They were very inconsistent. This is something that I'm very sensitive to, being that I like very accurate cages, and it wasn't really also consistent with the FPS that it was coming out with. I was getting darts that were having a range of like 20 feet in distance, but that for a cage that goes around 80 feet, it's pretty noticeable. So I was not only getting differences in the range that I was getting, but also the accuracy, and that was kind of discouraging. So I stepped it down to 2S, and that was actually very, very promising. I was getting fairly straight shots, and that's coming from somebody who uses DRS cages exclusively. It wasn't quite there with DRS. I mean, you're not going to at those velocities, but it was fairly accurate. It was fairly consistent. You saw a deviation of probably like 10 feet between the darts, but they were all shooting around 80 feet pretty accurately, which is on par with a lot of other blasters in that FPS range and that game type that you'd be using it in. I put it up against my plus bow, and my plus bow, like, it's functionally exactly the same as what people are using as caliburns, but it was shooting pretty on par. The plus bow was able to reach out another 20 or 30 feet past it, but you were still able to compete, which was something that I wasn't really expecting going into this. I was expecting that any sort of homemade blaster, any sort of caliburn would far outperform it, but the Eclipse is sacrificing that little bit of FPS, or which translates to that little bit of range, but you're getting that semi-automatic fire. So depending on the game type, is actually, pretty substantial. And so, as the title states, like, why 2S I believe is better than 3S in my testing. And that's the question that Ryan posed in his video. That I tend to lean towards the 2S side of things, is because it not only is more accurate. This is, again, is with full lengths. This has nothing to do with half lengths. I haven't done any testing. I cannot speak for any sort of half lengths. It might be great with 3S and half lengths, but it's not only more consistent, more accurate. You're getting roughly the same performance in terms of FPS, if that's all you're looking for. You're also going to be straining your motors a lot less. Fangs Revamped are spec'd for 2S, even though they can do 3S. You're also going to be experiencing a lot less dart damage. I shot about 100 shots through on 2S, and I didn't have a single head rip-off of AccuFakes, which don't have the best glue. It's not bad, but it's not the best glue. However, when I switched to 3S, every fourth dart was getting ripped off, and that has to do with not being the recommended type of dart that Phil recommends. So that leads into, where does this stand with practical play? What types of games are you going to be using it in? What type of events in terms of FPS? So let's start off on the high range of things. You have your NIC events, your homemades, your caliburns, your plus bows, your rainbows, all those blasters that are shooting 200 to 300 FPS, half lengths. And Eclipse in this setting is effective with an asterisk. If you're engaging with somebody in an open field, somebody who's using half lengths out of a Springer is going to be outperforming you. They're going to be reaching out and touching you from 20 to 30 feet farther than you can reach. And it's just not going to do well in the open field setting. However, if you're field, and I'm going to reference APOC because that's the war that I run and know, if you have a wood line, say like at APOC, there are two paths that are divided by a patch of woods in the center and woods on either side. If you can play to your environment, Eclipse would do amazing. Because if you can get down into the brush behind trees and play that wood line, and you're not in the open, you're going to be able to put out darts 5 times faster than any sort of pump action rainbow can, or any sort of long shot can. And so if you can just play that to your advantage, you're going to be competing. I'd argue a little bit better than those half-length Springers. So for super stock, and this is what I'm defining as 200 FPS limit, where you're going to be having caliburns that are hitting around 200, and then you have your strifes, which are shooting around 150, that type of environment. If you're in the if your club shoots around that, this is the type of environment that I'm talking about. I think this is where Eclipse excels best. A 200 FPS cap war setting is great for Eclipse, because you're not going to be outmatched by Springers that have a cap of 300 and they can use that to the fullest extent. If it's capped at 200, there's very minimal difference between the Springer and Eclipse. The Springer might have a little bit more accuracy with the star and the, consistent air, but you're going to be having roughly the same FPS and engagement distance, but you have that rate of fire, and that's something that I think that not only was Eclipse made for, but I think it really excels in. And sub 150, that's just, you're not going to be able to use Eclipse. So it's no point in even talking about that because it's just not going to be allowed. But in terms of game types, things like Carpe, Capture the Flag, things where you're going to be in close engagement distance and with cover, that is where I would recommend using Eclipse. If you're doing open field, 315, team deathmatch, whatever, just use your springers, use your star barrels, use your long shots. Don't go with Eclipse. And I guess to wrap things up, would I buy it? Yes. Yes, it is worth it to buy Eclipse. If you are looking for a cage that will fit into your Strife or Rapid Strike and excel in the 200 FPS cap game, or even want to try it out in your NIC type games, I would go with Eclipse. It is probably the best cage, and it for what it does. And if you're looking to get one, always check out openflywheelproject.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram, that's how to reach out to them. They're still working through getting a manufacturer so they can get more wheels, but they're slowly becoming more available. So just be patient if you're itching to get one. They'll become more and more available. And I'm now going to take this time to read through the couple comments that are here before I wrap this up. Like I said, just a very quick live stream. So let me just give me a second. I'll read through some of your comments and I'll try and answer them. Okay. Right. So what Drew is saying with how it's very inconsistent on 3S, ranging from 120 to 165 FPS. That's very consistent from what I've seen. Oh, cool, RZ. I I had no idea that I was the one who saved you from the tank. That's funny. Yeah, no big deal there. That's just cool. I didn't even know who you were. And Drew saying, what FPS are you getting? I'm getting consistent with the numbers that Ryan posted. Anywhere from 150 to 180 is what I have seen. And that's just having a really good feel for it. Those aren't exact numbers. If you want scientific data, go to Ryan's video. He has all that laid out perfectly. And I would like to end this video for anybody skipping around that, again, reiteration, this is test with full-length darts on 2S and 3S. This is not half-length. I don't know how it performs in half-lengths. I cannot speak to that. It might perform great on 3S. So I think I'm going to end. Thanks for coming out.